Hello, my friends. How are you? I'm hoping I'm not going to cough through this whole thing. It's been a long week of this coughing thing. It's just not letting up, but my voice is a little better tonight, so I hope that you can bear with me, and we're going to give it a try. I'm watching to see if Facebook is coming on in. So tonight, we are going to do some scrapbooking, but not using a Cricut. I know a lot of you think, well, I don't scrapbook, I just do cards, or I don't want to do a whole, we don't have to. Do you have a photo hanging on your refrigerator? I bet you might. If you, instead of that, if you make yourself a little 12 by 12 layout, just one sheet of paper, and you hang that on the refrigerator, you can change it up as you go. That photo is not going to yellow and curl up over time. There's actually even cool frames that can go on your fridge. But let's not get carried away. Let's just get a simple layout done and realize that it's really not hard. It's not. It's just a way to put more than one photo together instead of different magnets. Yeah, magnets on the fridge. I do that. So we are going to start with the very first thing you always start with, your photos, because that's what's important. And if you've been watching me, you might have seen these photos before, but they were printed, and with this cough, I wasn't going out today. So these are the ones we are going to use. I have 3 photos that I want to put down in a layout. Now I need to find, so I got my photos. That's step 1. Step 2 is I'm going to find a layout that I want to work with. Well, looky here. There is a layout that I've shared with you. Hey, Susan. And you're seeing an 8 by 8 and you're not quite sure what that means, but let me bring you to real life and let you see it. So stick with that. I'm going to show you both. All right, so that's where we're starting. That's like our basic cake recipe that we're going to use. And let me start at the beginning. So we're going to start with a 12 by 12, which in that picture, the sketch, is white. This is from, if you do not have a lot of really cool papers, this is a great one. It is called Delightfully Eclectic 12 by 12. And there's a lot of papers in here. There's 48 different really cool designs. Look at them. Like so much. And don't stick with one side and think, well, that's really crazy, I wouldn't use that. Look at the other side. So we are going to use, it also, just like all Stampin' Up papers, tells you what colors you need. The other side of this, I kind of like that too, but I tend to think that when I'm choosing a layout, my photos are the stars of the show. They're what I want to make sure everybody sees. So if I had a photo, for example, that was a beach photo and all you saw was the water and a kid, or a water and you, then I could have something a little bit busier in the back. But since my photos are background and kids and brooks and lots of different things, I want a more calming background. So I see this, but my face, that's not the first place my eyes look. And I'm going to give my photos a little bit of another background. So look at our picture and it says we want an 8 by 8. I actually did 8.5 by 8.5 because our papers come 8.5. So I just cut off a little strip. I cut off this. And this we might use for something else, but that's the only part I cut off of that paper. Okay. So there's my background. And then my photo mats, I'm going to cut to fit my photos. Now, I put down what size my photos are. In the sketch that I look at gives me the size of the photos. Well, that's great, but if my photo's a 4 by 4 and I cut my mat at a 4 by 4, it's not going to work. You know, it's not going to be big enough. My photo's going to cover it all up. Hi, Diane. So I take my 4 by 4 template. You can ask me about these later if you don't already have them, and cut my photo to 4 by 4. But that means I need my mat to be a little bit bigger. So it's 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And then I mount my photo right on here before I go too much further, okay? Then this one, it says 3x4. So again, I take my 3x4. These have little protective coating on them. They're normally clear. Where are mine? They're in a box here, and I just don't remember which box they're in. I have like little totes over here, and they're in one of them. Anyway, they don't have blue covers on them usually. Here's the 3x4, and that's going to go on 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And that, again, is going to give me, and these are just cut from my 8.5 by 11 paper. And last but not least is the 4x6. This is just the way it came printed. This one actually came out of my little home printer, but you could send these off to Walmart or CVS or Shutterfly, wherever you get your photos developed, and you don't have to mess with it. And this is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. And now my photos are all mounted and all set. So I'm going to set this up the way that drawing shows us. This one's going to go here. Notice I'm not measuring anything. I'm just kind of eyeballing the sketch and popping things down the way it shows me. I'm going to line these guys up. I can use my glass mat if I happen to have it. If you don't, you could use the grid paper from Stampin' Up. You can buy a pad of that. You could use a ruler, or you can eyeball it. Honestly, I usually eyeball it. I look at the space here. Look at small spaces, right? You can get that the way you want it. If you look at this to the whole page, it's overwhelming. So look at little spaces. How is the distance to that? That looks pretty good. The same here. I'm going to try and line these edges up. Eyeballs. Just what looks good to you, because that's who's going to look at it. You and your family. It's not going to go into the precision measuring unit. And then here's the last piece. Now you're thinking, well, if that's the title, that's kind of small. Well, let's just take this and figure out what we can do with it. I have this great stamp set that I've been waiting to use. It's going to go on my Father's Day cards, but I love this with the dad fishing, only in my case, it's going to be Papa fishing, and I don't have, Bo's not in the picture, but it's okay, we can pretend. Maybe the girls have got their hair in a bun. But anyway, I want this stamp of Papa. So when I put that on my block, I look at it and it's too big to go on this little piece, right? So what I'm going to do is I have room right here. I'm going to stamp that right there. Then I'm going to use this to highlight one of the sentiments, and that's going to go on there. So let's do this first. And I am going to use Early Espresso. But before I get the stamping and all this stuff, take these guys off, and let's attach this to where we want it so we don't have it floating around here. Because if you've been with me before, you know I get carried away and then I lose things. So let's get these down. I'm using Seal. As you can see, there wasn't a whole lot of prep for this layout. I used my trimmer to cut this and my white photo mats. Again, I'm eyeballing it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I can live with that. If I'm going to be up at night, then I could measure, but I really don't need to. I'm really okay with it. It looks pretty good. As long as my bottom paper is straight and I stick it on down, I can live with that. It looks pretty good to me. I'm going to go back to my photos and I'm going to put them the way that little sketch kind of got me started. And I'll share some more sketch resources with you. And I'm gonna look at the edges, try and make this equal to this. I am a very matchy-matchy person. I am. So I need things to kind of line up and be even, but I don't need to, I don't need to measure to make myself happy. And I hope that you can see that too, because honestly, just getting it done is better than having it sit in the drawer and not get done because it wasn't the way you thought it needed to be. And we get these down. And now I'm going to line this up with this. Okay. Now, again, some of you might have been here before and have heard me talk about a simple. And I created these to be done with a Cricut. And I found a lot of you wanted to do that style of scrapbooking, but adding a Cricut just seemed like a lot. Since my Cricut is sitting to the side for a little while, I decided to try and translate simple SVGs, which is what a Cricut cuts, into just a simple using a sketch. So that's what we're going to be doing, but we're still going to scrapbook. Just because our Cricut is resting, we can still do it. Inked up my stamp, and the reason I put this all down is so I know that I get the stamp in the right place. And I'm going to stamp right here. Now, I could foof this up a ton if I wanted to. I could color that in. I could stamp that on white paper, color it in, and cut it out. I can do a lot with it if I want, but I don't have to. And I am going to use, and I'm going to put this right in the middle for now. You've always been there for me, but before I put it down, I am going to add my ink to the edge. Let me bring this here so you can see it. And I'm just going to roll this around in the ink, just the edges. Okay? And then I'm going to grab myself a dimensional. Dimensionals are these sweet little foam pieces that add, well, dimension. And then this is going to be ready to go in my frame and hang on the fridge. Now I could add more to it if I wanted, but I don't have to. And I let my photos do the talking for me. The photos are what this is all about. So what if I wanted to add more? I could use more paper. I could add more photos. But I think the photos stand for themselves, and this hanging on the fridge is going to say a whole lot more than just one photo curling up really tired hanging on with a magnet. So think about how you could use these. Then when you're done at the end of a year, if you did one of these a month, you'd have a scrapbook done and it would be painless. All right, everybody, thanks for coming. Sorry I sound so nasally and scratchy, but I really don't feel bad. I've put the links for everything for you. Beside Me is available. It's going to go when Father's Day comes. So if you think this is a cool one that you might want, you could grab that now. I used the 2-inch punch. Love that one. And I used my trimmer. And that was it. So you don't need a whole lot of tools. It's really easy to do. You could use whatever paper that you have. This was 8.5 by 8.5. Just plopped onto a 12 by 12. All right, everybody, have a great night. I will see you all soon. Bye.